Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are diving into one of the most intense and sensitive developments coming out of Belarus, a situation that has captured global attention and raised serious questions about the future of the country's leadership. The growing suspicion that several top generals may be quietly plotting against Alexander Lukashenko has triggered a wave of uncertainty, concern, and speculation. This video will explore the roots of the tension, the recent signs of internal resistance, the fractures forming within the military, and the possible outcomes of a situation that now seems more unpredictable than ever. In recent months, the relationship between Lukashenko and the upper ranks of the Belarusian military has shifted in a way that analysts have not seen before. While disagreements have always existed behind closed doors, the scale and seriousness of recent disputes suggest that something deeper is at play. Many officers who once demonstrated unwavering loyalty have begun to show signs of resistance, hesitation, or outright dissatisfaction. This shift, though subtle in appearance, has created a climate of suspicion that the president can no longer ignore. His decades-long rule, once reinforced by iron loyalty, is now showing cracks at the highest levels. Several insiders have hinted that certain generals are no longer aligned with the direction in which the country is heading. The policies implemented over the past few years, combined with the pressure placed on the armed forces, have created tensions that were previously hidden beneath layers of control and fear. Some generals reportedly feel that their authority has been weakened, their strategic decisions overridden, and their voices marginalized within key national discussions. This frustration has slowly transformed into quiet defiance, and in some cases, into secret alliances with others who share similar concerns. Although there is no open revolt, the signs of a coordinated effort among senior officials have become harder to dismiss. Reports have emerged of private meetings held behind secure doors, unexpected communication between officers who rarely collaborate, and subtle efforts to shift loyalty within different military departments. These movements, though discreet, suggest the possibility of planning or strategizing that challenges the current leadership. Lukashenko, who has maintained power for decades through control and influence, is now facing a scenario that threatens the stability he once relied on. A major source of tension stems from the perception that Lukashenko's decisions have placed the military in increasingly difficult positions. Some generals feel they are being forced into situations that do not align with the long-term interests of the nation or its armed forces. They believe the military is being used as a political shield rather than a national defense institution. This growing frustration has fueled conversations among officers about alternative strategies and possible ways to redirect the country's future without constant political interference. The growing suspicion within the military ranks has led Lukashenko to increase internal monitoring and tighten security measures. Trusted aides have been assigned to observe the behavior of high-ranking officers, while intelligence units have been tasked with tracking unusual communication patterns. However, these actions have only added to the sense of mistrust, leading some generals to operate even more discreetly. The tightening grip designed to control them has instead pushed many towards secretive collaboration. Another factor contributing to this tension is the generational divide within the armed forces. Younger officers who have trained under newer systems and have experienced global military cooperation often feel their perspectives are ignored in favor of outdated approaches. They express frustration that innovative ideas are dismissed and that their roles are limited by political agendas. Some of them may look to senior generals for leadership in guiding the military toward a more independent, modern, and strategic direction. This widening generational gap has further fueled the possibility of internal alignment against the current leadership. Whispers of a potential internal challenge have not emerged out of thin air. Observers have noted patterns in the behavior of several generals that hint toward coordination. Some generals have begun restricting appearances at official events, while others have avoided public expressions of loyalty. Certain routine communications have become shorter or more guarded. These subtle shifts may not look significant on their own, but together they form a picture of internal repositioning that cannot be ignored. The political landscape outside the military has also influenced the growing tension. Public dissatisfaction, economic challenges, and pressure from international communities have created an environment in which many in the military question the long-term sustainability of current leadership. Some fear that continuing down the same path could weaken national stability and isolate Belarus even further. Generals who prioritize national strength over political loyalty may believe it is their responsibility to consider alternatives. Meanwhile, Lukashenko is aware that his authority depends heavily on the loyalty of the military. He understands that any shift within these ranks could threaten his position. This awareness has led him to take extra measures to reinforce loyalty, including promotions, special privileges, and newly assigned responsibilities to trusted officers. However, these moves may be too late to reverse ongoing discontent among those who feel excluded or disregarded. As tensions grow, discussions about succession and leadership transition have become more common behind the scenes. Some officers are considering how the country might be managed more effectively under a different structure or leader. This does not necessarily mean there is a unified plan, but rather a collective agreement that change may be needed. The lack of official communication between factions has made these discussions more speculative, but they indicate a shifting mindset within key military figures. Lukashenko's growing fear of betrayal is evident in his recent actions. He has made public statements reinforcing his authority and emphasizing the importance of loyalty. He has reshuffled specific positions in the military, possibly as a precaution against internal threats. These moves, however, may deepen the distrust instead of resolving it. The more aggressively he tries to control the situation, the more determined some generals may become in seeking alternatives. The possibility of generals plotting against Lukashenko raises serious questions about stability. If these officers were to coordinate effectively, they could create the most significant challenge the president has faced in decades. The military's internal alignment has the power to reshape the political structure of the country in ways that no external pressure ever could. The uncertainty of this potential shift makes the situation both dangerous and transformative. Several analysts believe that if the generals are indeed strategizing behind closed doors, their plan would likely focus on minimizing turmoil. Rather than a sudden overthrow, they might pursue a gradual realignment of power, ensuring that the country remains stable while leadership changes. This approach would reduce the risks associated with abrupt transitions, particularly in a state where public and political reactions can be unpredictable. However, the biggest challenge for these generals is maintaining secrecy. Any miscommunication or breach of trust could expose their intentions prematurely. Lukashenko's surveillance measures make it exceedingly difficult for conspirators to organize without detection. This constant risk increases the importance of maintaining absolute discretion, which further limits the speed and scope of any potential plan. The situation also raises concerns for international observers. A shift within Belarus's military leadership could alter regional dynamics significantly. Neighboring countries and global powers are watching carefully, wary of instability, but also aware of the potential for new political openings. How they respond to these developments may influence the actions of the generals themselves, as international support or pressure can change strategic calculations. Inside Belarus, ordinary citizens remain uncertain about what may happen next. some people hope that internal changes might lead to greater stability, fairness, or economic improvement. Others fear that any shift in leadership, whether through plotting or disagreement, could lead to unrest or conflict. The lack of clear information makes it difficult for the public to understand the full scope of the situation, leaving them reliant on rumors, speculation, and limited official statements. Despite the secrecy surrounding the military's internal dynamics, one thing is clear: the trust between Lukashenko and some of his generals has weakened significantly. This shift is not just a political problem, but a structural one, affecting the entire chain of command and raising questions about the future of national defense. A military divided by mistrust cannot function with full strength, and this reality is one of the greatest risks now facing the country. As the situation evolves, many are wondering whether the general's suspected plotting will escalate into open confrontation or remain hidden behind layers of strategic silence. If their dissatisfaction continues to grow, they may eventually feel compelled to take decisive action. Conversely, Lukashenko may attempt to preempt any threat by removing or isolating key figures suspected of involvement. Both scenarios carry serious consequences, and the direction things take will determine the next chapter of Belarus's political and military reality. The future remains uncertain, and the coming months may reveal whether these internal tensions will settle, intensify, or transform into a defining moment for the nation. What we can say with confidence is that Belarus is entering a period where every move, every alliance, and every decision made within the military leadership will shape the unfolding narrative. Whether the generals are truly plotting or merely expressing growing dissatisfaction, the impact on the country's direction cannot be underestimated.